Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are diving into the magical world of real-time web application. We are going to build our very own chat app, which I like to call the Whispering Walls, because your words will literally echo across the digital realm instantly, no refresh needed. Think of it as upgrading your carrier pigeons to instant telepathy. So, what exactly we are going to build today? We are creating a simple real-time chat application. This means when you send a message, everyone else in the chat sees it appears instantly without having to refresh their browser. It is the core technology behind most modern messaging apps. To achieve this, we'll be using few key Python modules and web technologies such as Flask, Flask-SocketIO, CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. By the end of this video, you will have a full functional multi-user chat application that updates faster than your friends can type LOL. Let's get started. The first step is to create our project directory and set up a clean structure. I'm going to create a folder called chat_app. Inside chat_app, we'll need app.py, a static folder where we'll store CSS and JavaScript files, and a template folder. Inside this folder, we'll store index.html and chat.html. Your project structure should look something like this. Next up, let's create a virtual environment. This is a best practice in Python development. It keeps your project dependencies isolated from other projects which are running on your machine. Think of it as a clean and dedicated workspace for our messaging app. Now open your terminal in the chat_app directory and run this command. This creates a folder named venv, which contain our isolated Python environment. Now let's activate it. You should see venv appears at the beginning of your terminal prompt, indicating it's active. With our environment ready, let's install necessary libraries, Flask and Flask-SocketIO. This will download and install all the required packages. Great, we are ready to code. Let's open our app.py file. We start by importing everything we need: Flask itself, render_template to serve our HTML, request to grab data from forms, session to store user info, redirect and URL_for to navigate, and flash for those helpful little messages. Then from Flask_SocketIO, we pull in SocketIO for the real-time stuff, emit to send messages, and join_room or leave_room to organize our chatter. OS is just there to help us with a secret key. Next, we initialize our Flask application. This line creates an instance of our Flask application. _name_ tells Flask where to look for resources. Now let's configure our app. Every Flask application needs a secret key for security, especially for session. This line sets a secret key. In a real-world application, you would want this to be more complex and randomly generated string. Ideally, you would load it from an environment variable for better security. But for our learning purpose, a simple string will do. Now let's add our Flask-SocketIO initialization. For our very first test, let's create a super simple root route. that just says hello world. The app.route decorator tells Flask index function should be executed when someone visits the root URL of our application. And it simply returns an h1 tag with hello world. Finally, we need to tell Flask to run our application. So this block ensures that the code inside only runs when our app.py is executed directly. This is important. When using Flask-SocketIO, we don't use app.run function. Instead, we use socketio.run function. This ensures SocketIO server is properly started alongside Flask. Debug equals true is super handy for development because it auto reloads the server on code change and gives us a debugger. But remember, never use debug equals true in a production environment. It is a security risk. Alright, time to see our very first Flask app in action. Open your terminal, make sure your virtual environment is active, and run this command. You should see some output indicating that the Flask development server is running. And there it is. A simple hello world greeting. This confirms our Flask app is up and running. It is a small step for web application, but a giant leap for our coding journey. Okay, hello world is nice, but we are building a chat application, not a greeting card. Now let's modify our root route to handle user input, especially letting them choose a nickname and a chat room. We'll replace our hello world text with code that handles get and post request. User land here to pick a name and join the chat. If the user clicked the join chat button, which will trigger a post request, we are grabbing the nickname and the room they typed in. But if the nickname is initial, or if the user did not provide it any nickname, we are simply displaying an error message which says, please enter a nickname to join the chat. Now let's store their nickname and room in the Flask session. This session is like a little sticky note that Flask keeps for each user as they navigate the site. Super handy, right? If everything looks good, send them to the chat room by redirecting to our chat route. If the user did not click on the join chat button, then it will be a get request. Then we are just showing them the home page, that is index.html. This is standard HTML. Notice the curly braces syntax. This is Jinja 2 templating, which Flask uses. URL underscore for static file name equals to style.css. This line dynamically generates the correct path to our CSS file. This particular block is how we display those flash messages we sent from Flask. Jinja tool lets us loop through messages and display them. Our form has two input fields, nickname and room. Now let's make our lobby looks inviting. Create style.css. Alright, so here is the CSS code. This CSS gives our body a nice gradient background and centers our content. The .container class styles the main box of our lobby, giving it a white background, padding, rounded corner, and a subtle shadow to make it pop. CSS is what makes our website beautiful. It controls color, fonts, layouts, and animation. If you are a beginner to CSS, don't worry, you can learn the fundamentals from any websites, or you can just comment below. I'll create a separate video just explaining the fundamentals of CSS. For now, just copy this code. Now if you refresh your browser or restart your Flask application, if it didn't auto reload, you will see a much more appealing lobby. Looks much better, right? That's our app starting to take shape. We have got our lobby, but where is the actual chat room? Let's create the chat route in app.py. This is our glorious chat room, only accessible if you have a nickname in your session. Here I am checking if they somehow snuck in without a nickname or a room. So we are just sending them back with an error message. Please enter a nickname or a room to access the chat, and redirect them to the lobby. If they are passing nickname and a chat room, we are rendering our chat.html file and passing nickname and room from our session variable to chat.html. Now the real-time heart of our application, the Flask-SocketIO handler. This function runs whenever a specific event is emitted from the frontend. This event fires when a user joins the chat room. It's like them walking through the door and announcing their arrival. Get their nickname from the data sent by the client and the room they are joining. This line puts the user into a specific room. Messages sent in this room only goes to people in it. Now let's broadcast a message to everyone in the room that someone has joined. The emit sends messages. Equals room, send it only to those people in that room. And this print function here, we are just logging users input on the server side for debugging. Next, the leave event. This event fires when a user leaves the chat room. It's like them quietly slipping out the back door. Leave_room function here removes the user from the SocketIO room. Once the user has left, we are just broadcasting a message using emit function. And again, print function here, we are just logging this message on the server side for debugging. And finally, the message event, the core of our chat, on_message. This event fires when a user sends a new chat message. This is the core of our chat app. Here timestamp is sent by client, so we can display it. And again, print function for server-side logging. Here again we are using the emit function to message everyone in the room. Alright, now let's add an error handler in our app.py. This is just a little bit of polish for our app. So if a user tries to go to a page that does not exist, we are just going to say this message, the page does not exist, and redirect them to the index URL. Now that our Flask backend is ready to handle chat events, let's build the actual chat interface, chat.html. This is the main chat interface. We have a header displaying user's nickname and room, which are passed from Flask using Jinja2. The div with id equals to chat-messages is where all our incoming and outgoing chat messages will magically appear. Below that, we have a message form with an input field for typing and a send a code button. Crucially, notice the two script tag at the bottom. The first one pulls in the SocketIO client library from a CDN. This is the heart of our real magic, allowing our browser to talk to a Flask socket server. Alright, let's see how our chat room looks with just the HTML and CSS. You should now see the layout of our chat room. The input field, the send button, and the empty message area. It looks good, but nothing happening when you type. This is because we haven't added the JavaScript to make it truly real-time. That's our next step. First, let's make sure we are on the chat page before trying to do socket stuff. If you are on the index page, the script won't run its main logic. So document.getElement by id, and here we are just passing the class of the div which we created in chat.html file. Let's connect to the socket server. Let's create some constant variable here, which will refer to the HTML elements from chat.html file. So the first one is message form, which will refer to message-form class. Message input will refer to message-input, and so on and so forth. Now extract the nickname and room from the HTML. These values were passed from Flask when rendering the template. Now let's create our first event listener. Add event listener, submit. When the message form is submitted, this event will execute. This line of code e.prevent-default, this will stop the browser from doing its default form submission and page reload. We want SocketIO to handle it. Here we are just getting the message and removing the leading spaces. Only send the message if the message is not empty, I mean the message variable. We are using emit function to send our message, nickname, room, and timestamp to app.py. Next, socket.on. This is our primary event listener. When we successfully connect to socket.io server, immediately send a join event to the server. This tells the server, hey, I'm here, add me to the chat room. This particular code block is creating a new dev element for the status message. We are also ensuring that data.type exists before using it, and use info as a fallback if type is missing. Now this line displays the status message. After that, on this line, append child, we are adding this new div to our message container. And top scroll equals to this is like scrolling to the bottom to see what is the latest message. Next event is chat_message. When a server sends a chat_message event, a new chat message from anyone, which is basically triggered when a server sends a chat_message event, which get triggered when someone sends a new message. So here the data should contain nickname, message, and timestamp. We are just checking if data and nickname and message is not empty. Again, we are creating a new div for each incoming messages. If the message is from us, like I am typing the message, give it a special class styling, like it should look different from the rest of the incoming messages. So if nickname equals to nickname, right, then it should be my message, else it should be others message. So this is the class we are using to distinguish the messages. All right, finally, a little cleanup. This event fires just before the user leaves the page. This is our chance to emit a leave event to the server so it can gracefully announce that you have left the chat. Alright, let's quickly test our application and fix if there are any bugs. Alright, the moment of truth. Let's see our whispering wall in action. First, I'll start our Flask app by running python app.py in my terminal. And there you have it, a fully functional real-time chat application, the Whispering Walls, built from scratch using Flask and Flask-SocketIO. You have learned how to set up a Flask application, handle user session, implement SocketIO, event for joining, leaving, and sending messages, and update your front end dynamically with JavaScript. This is just the beginning. You could expand this by adding user authentication with Flask login, database integration to save chat history, direct message between users, emoji, rich text formatting. The possibilities are endless once you harness the power of real-time communication. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe for more Python programming videos, and let me know in the comments what other Flask Python projects you would like to see. Thank you for watching. Keep coding.